So it turns out now we know the full sit down with with Kamala was just over 50 minutes. And what they ultimately aired was a cut down version that was about 20 minutes in length. Now, that is typical for 60 Minutes. They don't normally air their full interviews, and they don't typically release the raw videos anywhere. But having said that, they've done it before. They released the full transcript, I think, or video of J.D. Vance. Catherine Harris was pointing that out. They've done it before. So once it became a controversy, why wouldn't they have done it, right? The preview clip hit Face the Nation. It didn't match the version we saw the next night on 60. And watch, you can see that discrepancy in this clip here.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Not much better, but slightly more clear. With the release of the full video, now we know how that whole thing actually took place. First, the question from Bill Whitaker was actually edited down, and the part taken out was more pointed than the way it aired in either version. And you can see the full Kamala answer, too.
It seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening. The Wall Street Journal said that that your administration has repeatedly been blindsided by Netanyahu. And in fact, he has rebuffed just about all of your administration's entreaties.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region. And we're not going to stop doing that. We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Okay, so what we learned is that the first half of that inane answer was aired on Face the Nation as a tease, and on actual 60 Minutes, which aired the next night, they used the second half of the answer, which was more succinct, though I don't know that it was more clear. I'm going to have to say 60 might have just been shooting for something that was a little closer to comprehensible, if you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Neither answer was good. They both sucked. But now we do know that there wasn't more inanity stuck inside the answer. There were just those two bits of inanity, and they chose one for Face the Nation and one for 60. Okay, but there's more. Because now we've seen the raw footage of the interview, and we learned that the next 10 minutes of Q&A was edited out entirely. Again, this is always going to happen. It's not inappropriate to edit an interview with a presidential candidate. That is the format of 60. And most of us, if have limited time and limited airspace to put our interviews up in this kind of thing, in like a pre-taped setting with somebody who's important. Not now because I'm on podcast, but back when I was on, the cable news or the broadcast news. But look here at what we never got to see.
We are people who have ambition and aspirations and dreams and optimism and hope. If you look at the character of who we are and how we have achieved the strength that we have achieved, I believe in large part it is because of our character and our belief in the promise of America. And I'm running for president because I want to do everything that is possible to create an opportunity for people to achieve those goals, those ambitions, and those dreams.
Okay, so she said absolutely nothing. You guys all know how many times we heard those stupid phrases, meaningless, out of her mouth. You can make the argument that, okay, they didn't need to include it because everybody's heard her say it. But you tell me whether it's putting the thumb on the scale editorially to take that out. In essence, you could make the case that you're running cover for her because she is showing what an empty vessel she is, that this is all she's got. This is a major, supposed to be substantive sit down. And that's what she fills it with. This completely empty, calorie-less filler that she says everywhere. Like, you'd have to have the debate internally about whether you're running cover for her and taking that out. Later in the interview, Kamala went on a bizarre aside about picture day in school in Ohio on the subject of the eating of the dogs and the cats in Springfield, Ohio, which they also saved her from.
When I was Attorney General, the words I spoke could move markets. So the idea that the former president, who again is running to be president, would use that microphone in a way that is about vilifying and demeaning a whole population of people. You know what has happened because of that? One day when this happened was a school day, picture day for an elementary school. Picture day. You know what picture day is for our children? They get excited the night before. We put out the clothes they're going to wear. They go to school making sure their faces are clean and their hair is done. And they go to school for picture day. And you know what happened to these children? They had to evacuate that day because of the fear of the threats that were being issued in Springfield because of the words of Donald Trump. So I say that I'm glad you are pointing these comments out that he has made that have resulted in a response by most reasonable people to say it's just wrong. It's just wrong.
Unbelievable. That's where she went. Words have such power. What could happen to the children? Well, let's look at what did happen. Picture day got spoiled. It got spoiled, I'm telling you, Bill. And by the way, then she references the bomb threats, which we know and knew were international. Some came from Russia. It had nothing to do with America. It was just shit stirring from out of the country. But somehow that's Trump's fault. All of which would have led to criticism of Kamala Harris, and it got omitted from the interview. All they included was that last sentence. I'm glad you're pointing these comments out that he's made. They've it's led to a response from people saying it's wrong. It's just wrong. All right, another one. And I'm going to get Andrew to comment on all this, but we had to get this to you. In another section, a substantive discussion on the border, and this part was edited out.
There are a variety of factors that relate to what we have seen globally and what we are not immune from at our own border in terms of what we have seen in terms of surge of immigration and irregular migration. And there are solutions at hand, but we've got to have leaders who are solution-oriented, which we've been and are, and I am going forward, instead of leaders who want to make it a problem they can run on.
She's a know-nothing. So, Andrew Klavan, was it election interference, as some on the right claim, including President Trump this morning? Just your typical 60 minutes cut down? Or them, my own vote is like, it's not, I'm not surprised that all the edits they made were to her benefit.
Well, I dozed off during those last two clips, so I can't really say too much about them. But I think, look, you're right. It's subtle. What they did is they turned her from the babbling idiot we know she is into a faintly coherent, presence on the screen. And they did that because they all vote for Democrats and they want to support the Democrats and they hate Donald Trump. That's why they did it. But it's so subtle. Can Trump win a lawsuit? Probably not. Maybe they'll settle, but probably not. But that doesn't matter. These people need to be shamed. There is no bigger criminal element in our country than the American legacy news media. They have really done us dirt. And as far as I'm concerned, each and every one of them should be paraded naked through the streets like in Game of Thrones while we throw, rotten vegetables at them and cry shame, 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 because what they have done is they've made it almost impossible to hold anybody to account. They have basically cut off the flow of a politician does something wrong. The reporter exposes the fact that he's wrong. He has to pay price for it, either legally or at the voting booth. That's the way a democracy is supposed to work, and it can't work without a free press, and we simply have not had a free press. If you look at this country since Obama was president, there's just been no penalty for bad actions. I mean, the IRS takes after Republicans, conservatives, nobody gets fired. Oh, there was not a scintilla of corruption there. Forget about it, because the press isn't looking into it. The press isn't exploring anything except how bad Donald Trump is. Most of those stories were lies. So now you have the press that isn't even held to account. They tell us that Biden is sharp as a tack. Nothing. Nobody quits. They tell us that, there was Russian collusion, and then they give themselves Pulitzer Prizes for essentially elevating a Hillary Clinton dirty trick. They tell us that the Hunter Biden laptop isn't real, and we have to therefore, censor any reporter who explores the fact that it is real. All of this stuff has been going on to cut off the people from any sense of reality. And I think it has played into the left's ability to tell us that boys can be girls. It's played into the left's ability to basically do the kind of terrible things that Elon Musk is exploring in our U.S. foreign aid. All of those things they've been allowed to do because the press just will not do its job.
We continue to face uncertainty when it comes to the economy, with a perfect storm brewing as Social Security and Medicare hit a breaking point, as the largest generation is hitting retirement. A smaller workforce means a smaller tax base. You pair that with our growing national debt and our rising cost of living, and we could have a very big problem on our hands. So what are you doing now to protect your family for the future? Are you diversifying? Gold can be very useful to you in this. It can be a safe haven in hard economic times. And Birch Gold has a super great reputation, and they will make it very easy to diversify a portion of your savings, if you so choose, into physical gold. Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k, in whole or in part, into an IRA in gold, and it will not cost you 1 cent out of pocket. Protect your future today. Text MK to 989898 and get your free info kit on gold and a copy of The Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. There's no obligation, just information. Birch Gold has earned the trust of countless Americans looking to safeguard their savings. You just text my initials, MK, to the number 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.